Oh, yeah. Welcome back to
Nice.
episode
Nice.
51 of this podcast. With your hosts, me, I am Chris Trott.
Oh, and me, I am Ross Hornby.
And I am Alex Smith, and together we create.
Some sort of
Heartfelt.
mega. I was going to say Megazord or something.
Megazord.
Like
I was thinking kind of a combination of the two, whatever that would look like.
that. Yeah.
Troy,
Well,
who did that fingle? Because it sounded
that fingle-
new, fresh, and it wasn't just a replica of our original song, which is nice to hear sometimes.
It's just nice. Always Molasses made that one. Thank you, Always Molasses.
Thank you very
Very
much.
Kavinsky-esque to me. Kind of lo-fi
Well-
80s synth.
For balance, just for balance to present an even perspective, I'm going to say I prefer the ones where they take just literally the notes of the original tune and change it to a different MIDI instrument.
Nice.
Cool.
Okay. Well, that's fine. I mean, that's fine
Just
too.
for balance.
Well,
There's
there's a
balance.
whole list of
There's
them in the email if you want to go.
There's
There's so many of those.
We do appreciate the
I like
fingles.
it. We
Don't
do.
forget,
I
if
like
you
'em.
do want to send one in, we are running low. That's right. We're dregs. We're at the dregs now. So anything beyond this will be awful unless you send your better one in. Right? I'm joking.
Not that we
They're all
considered that one a
fantastic.
drag.
No. After this one is what I'm saying.
After
Anything
this, okay.
beyond this,
God,
unless
I feel
you
for
send
anyone
yours
who's-
in. It's just an incentive. I'm totally lying. They're all fantastic.
Yeah,
Wonderful.
balanced.
Send that
And
to our email.
remember, the best the best fingle this year will receive an award where they can come on our game show Cheggers Can't Be Choosers, where we take them to a car
yeah.
boot of their choice, and with a budget of £5, which we think is extremely generous.
It's very
Do you
generous
have a
considering the
car boot?
situation.
Oh, it's got to be for me. Oh, which is my favorite car boot for me?
Name one.
Oh,
He's got
there's just
some
so
in
many.
mind.
That's the problem.
I've got
There's
one.
So many car
Yeah.
boot.
Oh,
Go on,
yeah.
Trot.
Stanchester Community School in Stokes of Hampden, the
Okay.
sports field car boot sale.
Right,
That happens, used to happen every Sunday. I don't think it happens anymore because now
I
they're
don't
an
think they do it
academy.
anymore.
They're an academy.
Yeah.
And they've got
like
huge
prison walls up as well.
electrified fences.
Oh my God.
They gotta keep us in.
But I bought many
that's
a
part of
board
our
game.
legacy Trot. That
It
stuff
was.
wasn't there when we were there, and they had to bring
Yeah.
it in after
They
we
did.
were.
Yeah.
What did that
They had
say?
to make it a military camp, basically,
Wait,
in
they
our
have it
stead.
at your school as well?
Yeah, they probably did
My
for all
school as
schools,
well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think
But
there
they
was
have it
a
in my
period
school
where
'cause
they
there was
wanted
a
to make
hammer
it more
attack.
secure. A hammer attack
Holy
There was a hammer
crap.
attack, yeah.
Okay.
against
I-
who?
I think it was
Multiple?
race
Was it a
related
hammer
as well.
spree? It was a race-related
No,
hammer
it was,
attack.
it was a one-on-one. I think someone got their brothers to drive to the school and then
Right.
attack another kid, and then they ended up putting up like pretty much prison-sized gates around it.
Did
Yeah.
someone die?
No, brain damaged.
Oh,
But that's a bad note to bring up on. That.
that really is.
Not funny,
It's
but it's
not-
real.
Oh.
And
Checkers can't be
sometimes real
choosers.
things- I know checkers can't be choosers.
This
but
was meant to be
sometimes-
light-hearted. Checkers.
I'm
can't
just
be
saying.
choosers.
There's a reason those gates are there, and I'm happy they're there.
Okay, so that's
Wow.
why our schools became more militarized
you go.
because of the ever looming threat of hammer
Hammers.
attacks.
Yeah,
Oh my
Oh.
god.
Wow.
That's terrifying.
yeah. I wasn't at school at the time, so that's kind of good, I guess.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like they
Makes
put
you
them in
worry about
after
the
we
youth.
left as well. The youth
Yeah.
of today.
Ute.
I don't know. I don't. Well, I suppose they probably are. I think kids have to grow up faster and faster, right? That's half the problem. Like,
Come on, speed up.
They've got to run away from the guy with the hammer. That's why.
Yeah,
You're
well,
not
yeah,
11
when a
yet.
hammer comes a knocking, you better be ready to fight hand to hammer combat. But like, no, seriously, I do think it is a bit scary sometimes. Like when you realize the crap that some people have to go through at school now, and it's like,
Yeah.
Jesus, you're meant to be like a child. Like, oh God, sounds rough. We were just too busy chucking panda pops at each other to notice, you know.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was
When
all
when
harmless.
every second of your life is dictated by your ability to dodge a flying blue raspberry panda pop.
They're hard. Though.
you
They
know.
were stodgy
Oh,
little,
when full,
short,
yeah.
stubby, hard fuckers.
Yeah.
When
If they hit
pressurized,
you
yes.
feel that.
Yeah.
It's like being shot with like one of those beanbag guns, you know, take you
wouldn't
down.
Oh, yeah. Holy crap.
No.
Well, it
You want
prepared
to come
us
out,
for
hang
the-
around Central Bristol for a couple of days, find out pretty quick.
Have a little quick
That's
walk down
true.
the-
Very
down the street.
current. Very current. Do you want to briefly skirt upon that subject, or do you want to like just move past that one? Or just
I don't really know.
summarize.
I mean, well, yeah, there was a protest in Bristol regarding a new bill that's going to be passed soon that restricts people's rights to peaceful protest to the point of it becoming so broad it can be applied in multiple ways. So, for example, the protest can't make undue noise or annoyance.
They can set the noise limit. The police can set the noise limit, right?
Yeah. So the whole point of this is like when police can then, step in, arrest people, like when the things become beyond protest, which you're legally entitled to, and step into the point of public disorder, which, protests can, that's when they become riots and that's when they need to be stopped. But until then, they shouldn't be. And so this is seen as an overstepping of regulation of protest and thus infraction on people's right to speech and to be heard.
One of the other
obviously
rules is they can set the time that it starts and ends as well. The police can set that, and also it doesn't matter how many are in the protest. It can just be a protest of one that they can step in on as well.
So this was obviously not great, and I think the real problem came here is obviously we're still in a pandemic, and gatherings of any kind in the UK currently are illegal. Really, I mean, you can't even gather with people outside of your household right now. So these kind of mass gatherings, you can have a coffee on a bench. For some reason, there's this weird example where you can meet one person outside for recreation now. That's right. It's just changed. But yeah, basically, it's bad because of that. And I think most people agree that like ultimately it sucks that people had to get together and protest and do this whilst there was a pandemic on. Now, the argument against that, which I think is totally valid, is that, well, a government shouldn't be trying to pass bills on restrictions of free speech when it is difficult to express their own people's free speech and people's objections to things right now. So that bill should not be passed.
Conveniently timed.
So yeah, exactly. So what's happened is people have made a judgment call and they've gone, I feel comfortable, I'm going to risk my life essentially to go into this protest and break the law. Yeah, they are breaking the law and they are potentially setting us back in our progress of reducing coronavirus cases in Bristol. True. However, again, I still support them in the if they don't protest now, the bill will simply be passed unheard of and unchallenged, and we would have just walked into a little bit less freedom and a little bit less liberty, which is meant to be what democracy brings.
Even though they claimed that it was going to be temporary, who knows if they will just change that rule? So, by opening the taps and just having that go through without any kind of challenge, then there is a risk there.
It's paving the way, isn't it, for future bills to be added.
And later, what happened in that protest? After about 5,000 people turned out to protest, which, from what I saw, literally, I saw the protest go by me. It's a lot of students. There's a big student population in Bristol right now. They don't have a huge amount to do. They have been stuck in probably tiny student accommodation for a very long time. So I think a lot of students went out and protested, which is, again, based on what I said earlier, I think is ultimately a good thing. And then they dispersed, went home at about 5 o'clock. And then about 300 to 500 people went from a protest area to the police station. After they were moved on from that protest area by the police, they then went to the police station in protest of being moved on, I suppose. And then started breaking shit. Now, again, it's important to remember that these protests, like a lot of protests recently all over the world, are made up by a very broad demographic of beliefs and ideas. So you won't just have everybody there is anti-bill, pro-police, or anything like that. You have anarchists there who don't want any kind of regulation at all, or no government, or organized government at least. People who are just generally hate the police because for whatever reason they have motivations to do that. People who are conspiracy theorists, like all sorts of people, right? And so they went on to just start fires. They broke a lot of the windows on the front of the police station. They set fire to some police vehicles. They didn't damage anything outside of police property, which is kind of well, I mean, in that particular case, there was a restaurant literally across the road that they were all stood out in front of that was 100% untouched. It was very focused on the police. I don't think the police should have been targeted. The police in the Bristol are really like progressive. They're really reasonable. It's a shame that fucking happened. But yeah, that's basically what happened. What was interesting is how it was reported, and it's now come to light. I don't know if you guys know that there were some reports of broken bones, injuries, punctured lungs, things like that coming out of that happened to police. That's now been confirmed as fact. Whether or not it's a genuine mistake that the police were like, we've had to send some people to hospital because they're really hurt or they are hurting, and that person believed they were hurt, or whether or not that was latched upon straight away, this idea that there were injured policemen that then wanted to be reported upon to fuel the division there already is with this sort of thing going on. But basically what's come out is there were no broken bones amongst the police that day. And there were a lot of police there as well, which is surprising. You would have expected even, the odd stray bottle or something injuring someone, because there were lots of police and lots of protesters. And yeah, eventually... Yeah, I mean, people are saying they lied intentionally to create more of a anti-protester sentiment, but I mean, at the end of the day, it's by the by, isn't it? Whether they lied to create it or not, ultimately, what you're trying to achieve is the police don't hate the people of the city, and the city don't hate the people who are the police, because the police are also people of the city. Like, if you're trying to create, like, progressive civic harmony, you can't, you just can't focus. Yeah, you just can't focus on those things. Like, it's the people in power and the people in government that are the fucking problem. Like these authoritative nutcases, these people who clearly have their own agendas, their own complexes, that are trying to create these laws and make their mark on history for their own fucking aims. Like, that's what it is. They want, like, Boris Johnson was literally obsessed with becoming prime minister. He was obsessed with our previous prime minister. Like, this is his private schoolboy dream. Like, Priti Patel has just this bizarre agenda where she is literally the daughter of immigrants. She literally, probably her family's experienced firsthand some of the sort of authoritative heavy-handedness of approach to refugees and immigrants that we've all had, that countries still have. Like, and for whatever reason, it seems to have manifested in this want to make sure that everybody is punished and everybody. It's weird, and I think this weird projection of personality on our politics right now is causing us to scream at each other and hate each other, when in reality we've just got a pretty sick kind of like government, if you know what I mean. And it just sucks. Like,
sick in the bad way.
Yeah, like, but I think what's good is, I mean, still, like, I think that already, like, the anti-police stuff and like the police in Bristol are already starting to try and like diffuse it and bring it down and just be like, guys, we don't need to make this like a huge statement of like the police and the people are now against each other, like what's happened in the US. For different reasons, for totally different reasons. Policing in the UK and policing in the US are completely different. And like, so it's important to remember that as well, and not just lump it in with all that shit. Anyway, that's
parroting is a problem. You see a lot of within the protests as well, just taking the same slogans and lines that are used and were used for a totally different cause on the other side of the world, and mimicking it here when the situation isn't the same is kind of dangerous as well. So
it doesn't need. We don't need it. We don't need to import more hate. Like,
ultimately.
It's just.
Well, it's a complicated subject, and I don't think we've got the time nor I don't have the knowledge to
all the knowledge to go into detail to make
it just sucks when people clash. Stuff, it sucks, but I think it sucks.
It's weirder because it happened so close to us. I think as well. When you're seeing like such things happen just down the road, you can hear it happening outside your window.
I literally saw
it becomes a lot more real and visceral.
I saw like 50 riot police deploy in like a formation like outside of my window with like a police helicopter above me, dogs in the street, and I was just like, this is just mad, because like it's just crazy when you see it, because you just can't help but think, if somebody in the police station like said like, you know what, guys, we've heard you, please, like, I know this is probably unreasonable, but you'd like to imagine that they can go, look, we're from Bristol, you're from Bristol, we know you're angry about this, we are literally following what the government is saying, like, we Like, we're people, and like, if you stop destroying the front of this police station, we're going to go inside and we're just going to stop this, okay? Like, you've been hurt. Nobody needs to get arrested. Nobody needs to get hit or hurt. You know, you'd like to think that in Bristol that can happen, because
and as soon as that's done, you're going to be painted in a bad light by the media. Ultimately, they're going to take that violence and that's what they could have vocalized to them, saying like any damage to property.
Cities become these islands after a while of opinion and ideals, in that, like, if you look at how political opinion and political, and not just political, like social ideology is distributed. If you look at cities, it's often quite different to the countrysides around them or the counties around them, right? So like London is meant to be this almost liberal elite kind of capitalism. Like, for example, Bristol's always painted as this ultra left, but like, the truth is, people doing the painting haven't, been to the cities, haven't seen like what it's like to live there, and the fact that like, Bristol's like the second most desirable city to live in the UK. Like, and it's a really great place to live. It's expensive as hell, but it is great. Like, and so you see it like on Twitter and stuff, and people saying like, "Oh, liberals are liberal shithole. Bristol's a liberal shithole. Like, bomb it from orbit." And you're just like. And then somebody said, "Oh man, Bristol's really becoming the Seattle or the Portland of the UK." And it's like, man, I'd live in either of those cities. Like, these are great places to live. Like, they're full of like innovative companies. They're full of really great food. They're full of really great culture. They're full of like all the things people want to live in cities for. Like, so like, yeah, I don't know.
It's divisive vocal.
Yeah, exactly.
Thing that's getting a voice, and is being. Manipulated and distorted, and with algorithms and blah blah, and how media can kind of push agendas, and how Facebook groups can kind of be pushed onto your feed because of certain keywords that you've triggered in the past, or liked certain things. You can see where the divide happens, particularly when people are at home with not much else to do other than scroll through and doom scroll and look at these things. I think it's a sitting time bomb for certain things.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's move on.
Yeah, but that happened in Bristol recently. So that
is what happened very recently. Yeah.
But yeah, I think the good news that came out of that was like the city's not in ruins like now.
Yeah.
Like the next day we were back to it, and like stuff happened and things were said and things are being looked at now and things will happen. But like
Bristol Waste and Recycling cleaned it all up.
We can do that. Yeah, like it's
pretty impressive.
It's possible.
So there were some isolated incidences, like smashing like all those cars up and stuff, which seems just an isolated instance, just a kind of an offcut of someone who'd thought, oh well, this is going on.
It's a night to smash things up, basically.
Yeah, so there are those
excuse,
isolated incidences which kind of ruin a lot of the messages of the original protest, but it's good that the whole street wasn't vandalized and all the windows weren't smashed for no reason. What
would the world look like, do you think, if we tried to start a campaign of delete social media, do not use social media? Like, imagine how different. Because think about all the ideas and news and information you get that form your opinion and form your mindset, but you literally get from social media. Like, as in, if it wasn't for social media or if it wasn't for the news, how much of that would actually affect your life? Like, so, like when you think about things or worry about things in the world, it's almost always because of that little black box in your pocket that you know about it, right? It's not like if you didn't know about it, you probably wouldn't see the impact in your life. Like, so I do wonder if we all agreed, like, you know what, guys, I'm gonna, well, it's not. The thing is, I understand that point of view, Trott, and I know, like, I don't want to bury my head in the sand. Obviously, this is why I get so worked up about all these things and read about it all the time. But I also don't think that it's the best state to be in either. And I do wonder whether there's news and there's information, and then there's just the huge ambient shitstorm that is everything else on social media, which actually makes people sad.
I'm an absolute advocate for the ability to reduce the amount of social media consumption, because I think it's affected almost everyone I know in a bad way. Everyone is oversaturated, stressed out, worried about way too many people and way too many things going on in the world for them to deal with personally, but they are dealing with it nonetheless, and it's affecting their stress levels, their anxiety. It's either making them more angry at certain things that they weren't ultimately don't affect them, like you say. It's not happening in and around your space right now. Nonetheless, you are emotionally attached to a problem that's happening overseas. I can see it being a huge problem. It's great that huge movements can happen as a result of social media, and I think a lot of good things do happen, but at what cost is ultimately to the individual.
Also, the way that it's always designed to forever get more and more of your attention. Like they've gone from shared media sources to addiction facilitating machines. Like as in like
how do we keep you on the app as long as possible?
Exactly. The design very long ago deviated from showing you just what you want to see. It's also kind of like, okay, now how do we also keep you seeing what you want to see?
Well, they also know they're aware that negative stuff has more of an impact and is more shareable. So they actually push that further. So if anything, they are fueling this negative kind of energy, which just perpetuates those issues that you mentioned, Trott.
Yeah, absolutely.
Worrying. But I don't know, when we got bloody, the equivalent of Fox News starting up in the UK soon, which is even more troubling because it's just another platform for division, and it's just upsetting that that's got to go ahead and that's the thing. But there you go.
Well, Fox News is being sued in the US by Dominion voting systems. Yeah, so
the accusations of false?
Yeah, because they said that they essentially rigged the elections, and they were like, "Well, you've hugely damaged our brand as voting machine, like a company," and they're suing them for billions and billions. So let's hope that succeeds, because screw people who just push lies for money, basically.
I did a bit of digging the other day about localized news websites. Bristol Post being one of them, because I think we were just chatting about it, and I think it was Kim that mentioned that I think these are owned by a bigger company, and it turns out, like almost all the local news websites that have like very Sun or Times or Daily Star-esque headlines on them are all owned by the same company, and they're all kind of in control by that one massive corporation. I can't remember what it's called.
You can spot them from a bloody mile away, can't you? Those like kind of like tabloids or red tops, but they're not red tops. They're almost like, you say, these regional. They often like use blue. I noticed they'll often have like a blue banner along the top.
Well, it depends on the So Bristol is blue, and I think Bath is blue, and they're all owned by the same bloody thing. If you go right to the bottom of the page, you can like find who made the page, and then I went on the wiki and was like, oh yeah, this company basically owns a lot of the major news outlets that you kind of hate, like all the gossip magazines and the Daily Stars and the Daily Mirrors, all the Mirror stuff, Sunday Times and all that stuff.
Do you think that because of that, people are turning more to
News
social
Corp
media to try and find news in an organic or kind of raw way? Because I tend to use like Reddit and stuff, or Twitter and stuff, just to see what's going on at the minute, and you see it from a first hand. Like a lot of the protest stuff we were talking about, there was a lot of footage from people's phones, which they were just filming there and then, didn't even make the news yet. And I find that that's maybe where things are kind of turning. People are trying to find the news at the source from that raw material.
Yeah, the trouble is, again, like we said before, we don't know.
There's no verification for it either.
The timeline isn't just chronological. It's also based on interest as well. It's algorithmic. And of course, you're seeing your own friends' personal accounts. And yes, that's, as legitimate as you can get. You got Harry on the street videoing himself talking to a police representative. That's direct, and you can't really manipulate that. But again, all the other stuff, I see posts by people I don't follow because they like something. Someone I followed that likes something I'm interested in potentially because Twitter thinks I am. And it's certainly a lot better than the News Corp global localized news websites for sure that are pushing agendas. It was like that outing of US media, local news TV, where they all said the same messaging for what was it? Was it about elections?
Because it was on. I remember John Oliver did a case on it as well.
Fake news, I think it was about.
Or this, wasn't it? I think.
Yeah, and they all said the exact same script to all these local news. I think Sinclair News. It's the ones that own them all, and it's propaganda at that point.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Yeah, it's worrying the power they have, and as long as more people are aware that that's happening, at least it could be avoided. But it's just, that tragically, that's just not the reality. People just take things on face value. People look at a headline on Facebook and move on, and that's what they've accepted as a truth. We just need to kind of encourage people to do research and kind of keep looking at, like you're saying, you dug into these things to try and find out the sources. Not everyone's going to do that, unfortunately, and I think that's just hopefully as people get more tech savvy,
access.
Grow up, they'll start learning to find information in their own unique ways, maybe. But
it
it's a big problem.
Effort to do research, right? And you're hoping that those people wearing suits and having a nicely formatted TV show would have done the research for you. And so it's like, I turn on my local news. They got to be guys that, live locally, right? And all the crew there is local, and they're getting all their news locally for me. And it's all about our town and our city and our county and blah, blah, blah. But no, it's Sinclair News feeding that local TV show, news show, some scripts that's been distributed across the whole country.
The real problem is inequality, because the reason you're capable of looking at that and judging that is because of your life experiences, your ability to, and your sort of facility to rise above the noise a little bit. I think, because
I don't think it was that difficult. Because I saw it on YouTube. And
you can't escape it though if you're not equal. So you're saying this, right? You're identifying these problems we have where we're starting a new news channel in the UK. Well, not we. People are starting a new news channel in the UK to push more nationalist, sort of more right-wing kind of concepts and ideals. And then you have also what you're saying about how there are all these local news stations and local newspapers purveying the same information to the local populace, right? And so if you imagine it you have big city centers, how public opinion and how voting and how ideals shift geographically is essentially what you're looking at. And you have these cities and these places, these central, these sort of foundries of ideas and people and wealth and cultures and everything coming together, right? Which creates sort of modern ideals or a direction for people to want to go. And then you see all these local news stations pushing the same old crap, right? And you're like, man, why are they so conscious of keeping these people down, keeping these people stupid, keeping these people fed with information that may pacify them or make them feel as though the way they think is the right way or the current way, all this sort of stuff. I think the problem is that only so many people get to go to the city. Only so many people get to travel. Only so many people get an education. And those people gain the tools and gain the options to change their mindset, or to perhaps even say, you know what, this is screwed. There are some hugely powerful people pulling these levers, and I'm not even going to participate in this system. I'm going to earn enough money, and then I'm just going to step back and go, I've got a nice enough house, I earn enough money now that I can live for the rest of my life without a problem. I've got a 5-bedroom house with a big old garden, you can step away from that system and live the kind of life that you want to live, or live with a freedom that is enough for you. But there's just such a huge amount of people out there that don't have that freedom and don't have that social mobility, that are just kept in part in place by this blanket of communications that just sort of keeps things the way they are. We're very resistant to change, and I think change has become branded as this thing of leftist ideology. It's, if you want change, you're too progressive, you're too woke, you're too this, you're wanting too much change. And it's man, we've just gone through the most right-wing change in the last 10 years. I think I can remember. I mean, admittedly, I've only been on this planet for 30 of them. And for not many of those was I particularly paying attention to this kind of stuff. But it does certainly feel as though it's actually, we're swinging to the right quite hard, and it feels weird to then be said you're the one that wants too much progressive change, and you're like, what? I thought we were going somewhere, I don't know. But yeah, ultimately, I think it always just comes down to inequality, access to education, access to a life that makes a person feel fulfilled and happy. And then you'll have a lot more reasonable, rational people, because a lot of these people that have these really seemingly vitriolic or hateful opinions are those in a position where those opinions are the only things keeping them sane or keeping them alive, without it's just
a sense of power as well, I imagine, having these strong feelings and opinions and knowing what is right and what is wrong is empowering for the individual.
Exactly. It makes them feel. It makes you feel. I mean, everyone wants to feel like that. That's not
and
an
also
art.
Feel part of something as well. Part of a team, part of a group, part of a tribe, whatever. And that is played upon and manipulated, I believe, and it causes divide and fraction.
Because it's a lot of work to create your own identity, isn't it? It is hard to work out. It's intimidating to work out what you believe in, what you actually think, what kind of vision for the world you actually want, right?
Down
that's
to
why
the granular stuff. You don't want to misspeak in your group of friends. Stick to the same jokes. Don't say anything that's too outside of that, because you'll get taken down for that. Or you'll be exited from the social circle for being too weird or being too emotional or talking about stuff that we don't usually talk. You can see how that kind of builds almost like a callus of I shouldn't stray from the path too much. Interesting.
It is interesting, at least, but.
Maybe take a break from social media is what we're trying to say now and again.
I think the problem is bigger than that. Definitely, like you say, the local news and local newspapers are pretty bad. But I don't know what the answer is. I think you can still be happy. I think you can still be fulfilled. I think it is possible. Of course it is.
But you can't control how someone's raised ultimately, and sometimes people are raised on their parents' beliefs, and if they encourage a very certain mindset, that person will grow up to raise their kids in the same way, and then progression for that individual might not be as smooth as others. I don't know. But then that's I guess there are good things about social media in the sense that it can educate you to a wider world, but that it can be poisonous in the same way because of that same reason. So I don't know, but I think education is the most important thing, and the fact that there are even more barriers to entry now, it costs even more. Definitely. That is just it's tragic, because there's more people who could be learning more, could be traveling, could be exploring and doing these things, but we've our countries decided they don't want to be
that's only for a small
union
group
stuff
of people.
like that, where it just limits again another travel to a great continent, and there's loads of things you could do there. But it's just more barriers, more limitations, which kind of sucks, really. And it sucks to see it from we grew up thinking that in quite a liberal mindset, I think.
And just expecting things to progress rather than take a turn. Like Smith was saying, we're expecting unification is happening slowly. We're slowly globalizing, and then that's it's got bad things industry wise, but we're globalizing in terms of ideas and opinions and equality and blah blah blah. That's what it felt like growing up, at least. To all that kind of positive talk, and then all of that's been stripped away. Let's go back to what feudalism. Let's go back to that.
Let's go back to isolationism, and it's just a bit
and through all of it, we're all encouraged to be. There's this individualism that is kind of encouraged constantly from day one. Capitalism is that in itself. You've got to build up yourself. You've got to work hard. Don't accept money from the government, because that's scrounging, and you're clearly not working hard enough. That mentality can be damaging, especially for people who just can't do those things or aren't able to for any reason. And it's just it's very it's not very progressive, and it sucks. But
again,
there's very little we can do about it.
Maybe
that's what hurts even more, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. I could be 50, 100 years ahead of my time, but I feel like David Bowie, and I do think dog law is going to change the world for the better. I think that will turn things around. Look how many times Ross has to cater to Murphy, and ultimately give Murphy that voice, and we will get in line. And we will.
Well, I'll tell you what I wouldn't do.
He's already
I wouldn't let Murphy savagely attack a seal on a beach. Have you seen that story?
No.
There was a seal called it was called Freddie Mercury. They named it locally.
Okay.
The seal.
And a woman let her dog off, and obviously you can't always control your dog once it's run a certain distance, but it attacked this seal, and it ended up having to get put down because it attacked its fins and its flipper. And yeah, this person got off lightly because they're like a high lawyer, a QC. And yeah, they kind of just got a slap on the wrist, said, yeah, that sucks, but oh well. Whereas I feel like if it was anyone else, I don't know, I get the impression they would be like, destroy that dog, arrest them, charge them with this. But I think, it's one of those situations again where, someone wealthy in a high position just got off with that's fine. Although saying that, I guess the ultimate thing is they'll always be known as the person who savaged Freddie Mercury, the seal.
Freddie Mercury, the seal.
So they always have to live with that, and that's always everyone's going to be making jokes of it. Their fucking fancy mentioned dinner parties and all this stuff. Oh, you're the seal woman, and then there you go. So maybe that pays for it. Hopefully. Probably not. Freddie Mercury would disagree.
Freddie Mercury would be rolling in his grave.
I'm kind of with them in that, like, I don't think any charges should have been brought, and I don't think the dog should have been destroyed or anything like that. No. It was just,
well, I mean,
dog doing dog.
There's just nothing. Like, I guess so, but like the dog was attacking another animal. It's like they do encourage you to, put your dog on a lead if there's wild animals around, and if that's likely. But normally you would probably just be said, all right, you've got your dog has to have a muzzle in a certain area or whatever, or always on a lead, for example, things like that. But ultimately, people are kind of like looking at it in a sense of it's just another rich person who got away with it, just walked away because they're wealthy.
Right?
Potentially.
But it's more of a saddening story because everyone relates to a sad-looking seal.
Not as bad as that U.S. diplomat that killed that English kid and got away with it.
Like, fuck.
English diplomat, U.S. diplomat's wife. I mean, that is awful.
Ran a kid down, raced back to the U.S. and just said, yeah, I don't want to deal with this.
I don't want to deal with it. Fucking coward. Well, what have we got here?
Hey, I've got a good thing. I can segue.
Sorry, I've got
segues.
More death.
I've got a good story. No more death. I put the link in Just Hats.
Okay.
So we have.
Oh wow. Okay. So it's
rhea birds running wild on a Hertfordshire housing estate. So a rhea bird is like a small emu. I mean, it's not an emu. It's it's not small. It's still a large, like, flightless bird. But a bunch of them, I think 20 of them, escaped from like a pen, and were running around a housing estate. And they've been there for a few days now, apparently, because they can't round them all up yet. So there are these. God. I don't know if you can get a picture of this kind of bird. Can you get that image, that first image?
Yeah, people are saying they've compared it to Roadrunner from Looney Tunes. Just wandering
hilarious times. Yeah.
What would you do if you just came across that in the street, though? Do you just back off slowly, or do you try and tackle it?
You got to try and feed it, right? I'd try and feed it.
Yeah. No, tackle
Come on. I mean, they're definitely dangerous, but they're not. Their feet aren't like Oh, then maybe they are. Maybe they are.
Is it ostriches, which are the scary ones, which will kick the shit out of you if you go near them?
I mean, they can all.
I'm sure any of these will.
Definitely.
Yeah,
they can all injure you, but
impressive.
But I mean,
just running amok.
Yeah, cassowaries are the ones that are with a razor blade finger and reinforced nose and bill. Like those, don't mess around with those. I mean, they're amazing, aren't they? Look at these creatures that are real. They are alive and exist right now. They're these giant bloody birds. It's just, I just think it's so cool sometimes. Like, there's, when you hear about dinosaurs and dodos and stuff, and then you see these things, and you're just like, I mean, that's a 6 foot tall bird. That's not an insignificant animal.
Yeah. Not at all. I actually have another wildlife escape story here, which I'll link to you there as well. And the headline is: Highway accident leads to over a dozen bull sharks being dumped in Ouachita River. I don't know if I'm saying that right.
Oh my god!
Yeah. So an early morning accident on. Sorry?
They can go up fresh river. They can swim. They're famous for going up rivers in Australia.
Yeah, but I think obviously there's an issue here in the sense that this isn't where they're supposed to be. One of them's 15 foot in length. So the single vehicle crash.
Holy shit!
Just before dawn on Thursday morning, the driver, 34-year-old Matthew Tucker, says he swerved to miss a deer in the middle of the road. And then he left a roadway close to Paradise Cove Marina and entered the Ouachita River. If I'm saying that wrong, whatever. His truck carrying over a dozen bull sharks was recovered by midday Thursday, but all the sharks were missing. Arkansas Game and Fish is especially worried about the situation as one of the sharks is 15 foot. He said, we're extremely concerned as these animals will likely wreak havoc on the local ecosystem and injure those trying to enjoy the river and adjoining lakes.
Oh my god.
So they're telling fishermen to be extra cautious because there are escape sharks. If all the sharks are not found by the beginning of summer swimming season, we're going to have a really big problem on our hands. But for now, we're warning fishermen
a 4.5
to be extra
meter
careful.
problem.
But they said here the largest shark, they called it Jaws for its extremely aggressive behavior, is the top priority for capture. While the other dozen sharks do pose a threat, the most immediate one is him.
We need to capture Jaws first.
And he was captured attacking a small boat. He was being relocated to avoid having to destroy him. And
doing the movie again.
Animal. Yeah.
Damn it.
The others were classified as nuisance animals, but ultimately you don't want those in your riverways.
No, not really.
Crazy story. You just crash your vehicle and then bam, all the sharks are gone. Oh God, what are we gonna do with all the sharks? Dear God, tell the fishermen, alert the fishermen.
Jaws! It's Jaws! It's attacking my boat.
Jaws. Yeah, so that's worrying. And probably not good for the ecosystem either if things get out of hand.
Yeah. Well,
so they're currently trying to catch them.
Yeah. Fingers crossed they catch them all. Like Pokemon, but way more terrifying.
That's crazy. I can't believe how much of an ecological fuck up that is. Hey, should we introduce like a crazy apex predator into this ecosystem? Yeah, let's give it a whirl.
I'm gonna do it anyway.
Whoopsie, dodging a deer. They will just slosh out the top of the open top tank he's transporting. Oh, they've all gone in the river.
Oh my God.
Have you guys ever wondered what your voice looks like?
I did until I saw that thing, but please.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I've not wondered about it.
We got given a really interesting... I got sent a really interesting email by a person called James, who works for a company called Sound Made Visible, who's like the dad was a big part of the technology called the Cymoscope. Cymatics is the science which basically visualizes audio by ultimately putting a thin layer of a chemical or a liquid on a surface, vibrating it, and then taking really interesting pictures. And this person, James, because they're a fan of us, has decided to take a snippet from our last hat chat of each of our voices, a single word, and then process those into images, because apparently they're sound made visible. They can do that for like people that like that sort of thing, get a painting or whatever of this image. So he's done all three of ours. Are you guys interested to see what our voices?
I am. For anyone listening, we'll describe them to the best we can. I mean, you can hear our voices, so in a way, you're already experiencing it.
You already know what that looks like in your ear.
This is obviously a single word. So let me go to this screen a second. But first up I'll do my one first. I said the word cast. And this is what cast looks like.
Oh my God, it looks like an iris almost.
Isn't that nuts?
It's kind of a spirograph-esque image.
It's a kaleidoscopic image of
a
pattern, which is insane. So that's me saying
cast.
And coloured, obviously. It's a black and white image. It's on a cymoscope, which I think is a dish, which has a camera above it. And then they put a certain liquid on to show the ripples.
Okay. And how different does that change word to word? Like, is it just always completely different?
I assume so. I imagine certain frequencies and certain like pitches change it dramatically. So Alex Smith says the word This is literally the word by Alex Smith in the intro.
Oh my God, it's got a very alien vibe to it because of the green.
Yeah,
but
it's green. It's been coloured green.
Again, why did they choose do you think?
This reminds me of a spirograph. That's what it reminds me of.
Definitely is. Spirograph vibes. I haven't used a spirograph in years. Nostalgia hit.
And then Ross.
Just Mighty Max discussion.
You said mine. 9 from 49. The word 9 from 49, apparently.
So 49.
And look at that. It's got nice little bubbles on the outside.
9.
Mine looks like a coronavirus.
It does look like the coronavirus.
Looks like coronavirus.
Hold on a second.
A CGI image of coronavirus. 9 is the one. Oh my God.
Maybe there's something to do with 9. Or the word 9.
So strange.
Maybe we can fix the whole thing. Well, there you go. I thought that was really interesting. So thanks, James.
That's very unique.
Sound visual. Yeah, their dad was a big component in researching and creating the Cymoscope, which captures those images, which is really awesome.
Amazing.
So I thought that would be a nice little segue.
I think Uncle Lesmond is in the chat right now.
Fantastic.
Amazing.
It's really interesting. I found that super interesting. So soundmadevisual.com, I believe, if you want to see. Soundmadevisible, myapologies.com if you want to check out more of that, and cymascope.com if you like the technology behind it.
Yeah. Is it reversible, do you think? Can you like put that in the machine and it tells you what that said, do you think? Like how could it be used as a language in itself? You know,
a
if you
visual
see
language
just a load of visual
into...
Yeah.
This reminds
me. Seems complex, but yeah.
There was a news article, I don't know how long ago, where they took a 3D image of the esophagus and vocal cords of an Egyptian sarcophagus, like mummy.
Oh.
And
didn't they blow?
They tried to recreate what their voice would sound like.
What was it? Was it more like a...
No, it was a...
Didn't they blow for it?
So like, hello!
Hello, I'm a mummy!
It was so funny. They literally, Egyptian.
Because they've done it for animals before. They've kind of blown air through, the windpipe so that they get like some sounds and vocalizations, and it just sounds freaky. It's just like, yeah, well, it sounds like that.
Sounds like a goat.
Wow, we know what he sounded like at the time of death.
It's just what a goat would sound like if you were trying to blow through its esophagus.
Oh shit. But yeah, that's interesting.
I wonder if this is the right one.
I'm not sure what I saw the other day. I'm not sure if you saw it as well, but didn't they do tests? And we may have discussed this before, but I found it really fascinating, where they were measuring people's irises to see what imagery they showed them, to see how their irises reacted, because they contract very slightly to the point where they could understand.
Focusing on it.
Yeah,
to
the point where they think that it could be a language in itself, which sounds
eye language,
like super like zoomed in shot of the iris, kind of slightly moving, just tiny amounts when you show them different imagery, which apparently wasn't necessarily affected by brightness and stuff. Because obviously, if it's just really bright, your eyes would just widen up or go smaller. Sorry.
So it's like a subconscious language of a sort.
In a way. I mean, it was very interesting, but I didn't read too much into it. I would like to find out more. So
it wasn't just like muscular dithering then. Like, because you're zooming in so far.
Yeah.
Maybe there is sort of this almost muscular.
I don't know. I don't know how much research has been done into it, but it was a very fascinating idea. Whether that's something that the scientists here, of course, at Films, we are scientists. We're also, we're very into. We know things about space. We know things about Venus that you guys probably don't really know or really respect. We know the Earth is flat. The Earth is flat. Yeah. It's a very flat surface. I don't know if you put a ruler on the ground recently. Pretty flat.
To be honest. I haven't seen a bend.
No, exactly. So you've got to educate yourself. Go outside. Do those tests for yourself.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Do we have any more funny news?
I do have some funny news. Let's see. There was a guy who had a 9-day long erection. Is that interesting to you? Does that interest you? Or sent to the countryside for wanking? Is that something that interests you? I mean, these are stories I plucked out a while ago.
Like as a solution for it, or as a
I think it was a punishment. I think I pulled this out the other week, but we haven't read many funny news stories. So, but this was in North Korea, so I mean, you can understand if there's a bit more stringent methods if you get caught.
Honestly, I have no idea
choking the chicken.
Whether that would be a punishment in North Korea or not. We don't really know much about daily. There might be some laws that they just don't have. Like maybe they've just never bothered setting a speed limit for cars. You don't know, do you?
I have no idea. I mean, no, I don't.
What is the speed limit on a North Korean motorway? Answer me that question.
200 miles.
Trick question.
200 miles an hour.
There aren't any motorways.
Oh, nice.
They're not.
Got us.
I have no idea if that's true.
They're all basically A roads. But yeah.
Good to know.
Yeah. Teenage boy was caught watching pornography at his home in Sinuiju. Earlier this month, has been exiled to the countryside. I know, thank you. Along with his parents, the teenager was watching porn late at night when his parents were not at home. He was caught during a surprise inspection by a task force created to monitor deviant behavior.
Can you imagine?
What? Imagine that just knock on the door. I mean,
a teenage boy and a team of a government knocks down. That was the worst nightmare as a kid, wasn't it? When we were.
Well, no. The worst nightmare would be your parents first, 50. And then it's just.
Oh yeah, parents, and then but also.
Were you picturing task forces?
Well, you know what they said, like
masturbator inside. Preach it clear.
Also, for a long time, porn was like stolen, essentially, wasn't it? Like because porn was produced to be sold, and then websites were hosting it for free. Like, this was what was happening. So in a way, you were breaking the law back then. But yeah, no, there was jokes about people getting, the FBI knocking down their door for clicking on the wrong file or some shit.
Yeah. Yeah, true.
But I mean, it only happened to me and Trott like 2 or 3 times, and none of those times
barely count on the left hand.
Did you walk in on each other? Has anyone actually ever walked in?
It was a game for us.
That's a personal question.
Yeah,
anyone ever walked in on you?
No.
I don't think so.
I've personally never done it because I'm a pure child.
You wouldn't, you wouldn't want to risk the task force knocking on the door. That's fair enough.
I'd never sully myself with such acts. Heinous acts before marriage. In the eyes of God.
Before marriage, so you can just judge it like a
then I'll go crazy.
Go insane.
Wedding night's insane.
I'm gonna get all of the wanking I should have been doing the last 15 years.
I got 33 years to catch up.
Yeah, wow.
You have long Chris Trott, world's greatest edger. Like, this is the story.
Oh my God! Ectoplasm everywhere. Oh my God!
And then you get a news article like "Man has 9-day erection," which is the same thing.
Oh my God! Yeah, what is this one? British man has tipped erectile dysfunction on its head after a moped accident, landing with a 9-day erection. So within the accident, it basically damaged his, what they've referred to, did they refer to it as a taint in this article? Yeah, his taint, which is, of course, the gap between your scrotum and anus. Just who doesn't know what a taint is. Or your gooch.
Perineum? Is it?
Perineum?
Is that the name?
Gooch?
Perineum, I think, is the medical term. Is that right?
We'll call it taint.
We're gonna go with what the article said. They've said taint.
It's perineum. It damaged
the perineum, and it caused enough damage that basically it caused priapism, high flow priapism, a prolonged erection caused by unregulated cavernous arterial inflow.
Oh my God!
Right.
What, the butt mugs? He's got butt mugs over there.
Butt mugs.
What have you been looking at? Why are you getting these ads?
He's just looking for interesting mugs. Leave them alone.
Gaps.
They're very themed to the article.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So that's blunt trauma to the perineum. Is that what it's called, perineum? If you're thinking about it, I wonder if the same thing could happen if you on a skateboard, or like maybe you're doing a 50-50 on a pole, and then bam, straight down perineum balls. You might, give Viagra a run for its money if that's the case. But it sounds painful.
Sorry, you say that as if
that's something you're going for.
Viagra a run for its money.
Tips.
in that you serve as a stimulation device yourself.
The 33-year-old man,
no money,
single virgin man's dark secret to beat Viagra.
The guy,
you want a crazy erection for 9 days? All you need to do is cause extreme blunt trauma to your gooch.
Oh, damn it. Okay, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to give you a small bit of nerve damage, and that's going to give you an erection for 9 days.
Okay. Here's a ball.
It's better than what I went through. You're lucky. You're lucky it's been brought down to this specific art form with me with this hammer and tiny chisel. I had to slam my dick into a pole on a ski slope.
Living on the edge. I've been watching a lot of like climbing documentaries recently. There seems to be an abundance of them on Netflix, and I mean they are incredible. Like, there are quite a few of them where they're climbing the big rocks in Yosemite, and having seen them and knowing how grand and amazing they are, it really does give you quite an appreciation for it. But I'm thinking that we do what looks like a climbing film called The Edge, and it's actually just about Chris Trott's 33-year journey to his first orgasm.
Being pure. Yeah, being very pure. I never got caught because I never did it.
There's a lot of footage of him in climbing gear, and like we're alluding to climbing gear with a lot of shots of mountains and things like that. But he never starts climbing.
Just climbing.
And it's just a lot of like talking heads of him talking about his journey to his first orgasm. And you're expecting the climbing to start, but it never does.
A full season out of this. Literally, the whole season is an edging. Because you're like, when is it going to get to the rock climbing? Like, I'm waiting for this. That's meta.
The audience feels the experience of edging, which is actually what the subject has experienced themselves.
It's incredible.
It's like wow.
What art? That's a real art.
2022. It's similar to Wally's Peaks, which was an original concept from
2013 or 2014.
Felt like a long time ago.
Might be 2014.
It was a theatrical method improv storytelling, which I think was way too ahead of its time to be fully appreciated by the wider world. So,
well, I mean, it wasn't appreciated, so let's hope that was the case. Yeah,
absolutely. I see you put an article about the Suez Canal in here. That looks just messed up. That's, I mean, that's
big old ship, isn't it?
Completely blocked in by a giant cargo ship. It's just blocking it, which is costing billions right now, and probably you know delaying that order you put in some time ago.
Kind of remind you how thin the Suez Canal is at that point. And how one mess up like that can literally block millions and millions in trade.
And
and also somehow that level of, you would have thought that companies wouldn't be able to survive losing 10 billion or collectively 10 billion a day, which is apparently what it's costing, is roughly 10 billion a day in trade blockages. And you wouldn't think any company could survive such massive losses, and then they do, and you're just like, well, hold on. If we can just have 10 billion for one of those days, like, hey guys, we're going to block the Suez Canal and everyone just has to pay $1 billion. It's like, we could do a lot of stuff with that. There it is.
Jesus. Apparently caused by wind that swept it to the side. And then now it's part of a series of today.
Mega ships. These are the biggest kind of haulers built at the moment.
Yeah.
Pretty insane.
Unsinkable.
Yeah, well, hasn't sunk yet.
Himself couldn't block that Suez.
Oh man, I've seen some crazy cargo ship videos before, of, like in high seas, where all the cargo just suddenly starts tipping off the edges, and you're like, Jesus Christ! So there's just like shitloads of like Tamagotchis,
high sea stuff,
all sorts of shit just in the middle of the ocean where cargoes have just dropped it all off.
It's amazing people can build things to withstand that kind of environment, isn't it?
Yeah,
like highly impressive.
You don't see, and you're just like, how have we built something that is okay, that people can cling to and live through this on?
Unfathomable scale.
Yeah, unbelievable.
But yeah, there we go.
There's people in some of them. Can you imagine if they're like offloading some of this cargo to like, reduce the weight so they can rotate this thing, and then suddenly see a ton of people in one of these cargo containers? Like, oh my god, this is a whole other thing going on here. We've unveiled something.
Inside one container is the next Mr. Beast. He's just like, I was just trying to ship myself to China for fun. It's like,
I put a bunch of my YouTube fans in here because it's like last one to leave the container gets $1 million. Didn't realize it was illegal.
Yeah, jeez.
Anyway, any final thoughts?
I don't know. I think maybe just be safe. Avoid those sharks. Avoid those emu-like creatures. What are they called again?
Goddamn Arkansas sharks.
And avoid blunt trauma to your gooch, basically.
And
unless you're looking for
a 9-day.
A 9-dayer.
Yeah.
Which you might
in which case, send us an email to hatchat@films.com. I'm sure we could sort you out as long as we get the right spot, right? That's all that matters.
Yeah. Use the code perineal nerve damage.
I swear that like there was an article before where someone had an erection for a long time. They had to get it drained after a few hours because 9 days feels like an extreme amount of time to have an erection for.
Yeah,
like
just because
they drained it, they put a pipe in it and drained the blood. It was pretty horrible. I didn't want to go too into it, but
the problem is that the dick is being constantly supplied with blood.
Yeah.
So just draining it makes it sound as though like,
time to just
drain. They take the blood out and then they just be like, well, there's more blood in the dick.
It filled back up again.
What do we do now, Dr. Hornby? You're telling me the draining didn't work?
Drain it all. He's dying. He's lost 7 pints. Help me.
It's all come out the dick.
Oh, fucking hell.
Yeah, I don't know. 9 days though. That's traumatic.
That's a long time.
Sometimes, isn't it? Trousers, no go.
Hey, thanks, Patreon supporters, for keeping us aloft for longer than 9 days. Patreon.com/hatfilms. If you're one of the few that has extra to spare, you're keeping this Hat Chat going, absolutely, because we at the moment have no sponsorships. It's been years. Please give a warm thank you to everyone in the credits at the end of the YouTube video. That's right, we have a YouTube video as well on our channel, the Hat Chat Podcast. Just give that a little search on YouTube and you'll see all the visuals, all the hilarious visuals, like the awesome vocal recreation of our voices. which was really cool.
Oh, we
Actually.
never heard that mummy speak, by the way.
Yeah, I
did you
think
find
the
that?
one
Find
I
it?
saw was a meme where they replaced it with
No,
like
just a Wilhelm scream or something.
instead it was just like a It was a weird sound. But anyway, thanks for listening to us today. Don't forget to spread the word about your Lord and Savior's Hat Chat and Hat Films to your friends and family, and maybe dogs and cats. Spread the word. Let them know that it's available on all platforms, all your favorite podcasting platforms. And we'll see you in a couple of weeks, because that's when we do them. They're bi-weekly. So until then, enjoy Always Molasses, Full Fingal, and bye for now.
Bye.